Hot new game alert. If you haven't heard of it yet, Rumbleverse taking the Battle Royale world by storm. But no guns. It's melee only in Wrecked City. What is this thing called? The game's so new, I can't find anyone to tell me how to play it. So I'm going to try to do that for you. Hopping in, there's no tutorial. Obviously, we're still in beta, so beta playtest, they're open, but you know, no tutorial to speak of in the game as of yet, and no real guide. I guess I could check the website real quick. I didn't. Trailers. Oh, Graphital City. Name pending, hopefully. So I'm making this during the June playtest, but you'll be able to use all this info for the next playtest in July, which is probably going to be open again as well. The game's supposed to be out later this year. And if you're wondering about the mustache, this is my wrestling mustache. If you haven't heard of Rumbleverse, it's basically a 3D arena fighter set up as a battle royale. 40 people drop in, launch in actually. You literally get fired out of a cannon and then duke it out in the city, picking up power-ups to give you better abilities or stats. And therein come like the interesting systems. So I'm gonna try to explain that stuff here so that you can have fun in July and not spend an hour screaming at your PC like I did. I feel like a kid out here like, what do you mean that doesn't hit it? But I'm starting to understand, and hopefully by the end of this video, you will too. So let's launch into Graphital City. Please, Epic, change that. I thought it was called Wrecked City. Test that out. Focus group that one. It's free, it's not free. You will be hearing from me. Basic gameplay. So your basic gameplay loop is a lot like other battle royales. You're gonna launch in out of this giant cannon. Really big. With 39 other players. You're gonna see that there's already a zone established in Graphital City. So there are always gonna be areas that you can't drop to right away. Should you touch the zone, a countdown timer begins, a lot like a knockout timer, starting at 9. Before you launch in, you can spend some time in the lobby testing out different power-ups from the vending machines, different moves and movement, and checking out all of the tips and tricks which are listed on billboards around the lobby area. I'm going to be going over all those in this video though. Like most battle royales, you launch in, try to find some loot. In this case, it's going to be health and stamina power-ups and power move books, which you can equip to your LB or RB or your respective buttons, as well as stat boosters for health, power, and stamina. I'll go over all the items and what they look like in the next section. As you loot up, you'll run into other players who you'll want to fight. As you do damage, you're going to add to your perks, which you can see down in the right hand corner. That bar tells you how much damage you have to do until you get your next perk, and they do just seem to be randomized as you get them. Hitting pause at any time will show you your perks and the move hierarchy, which we'll also talk about more later. After that, it's normal battle royale fare. Keep up with the circle, keep looting up and building your stats and gaining better moves, and fighting other players until there's just you left. Items. As I mentioned in the basics, you have health and stamina items, stat boosters, your power moves. There's also a variety of weapons and vending machines that'll give you all of the above. Your health items come in the form of chicken. This is either a single chicken leg or a whole chicken, which will heal you twice. And then you have stamina refills. Your stamina bar does refill automatically over time, but you want to use these to build it up quicker or when you really need it. And then there are a variety of stat boosters. If you look in the bottom corner, you can see the red, green, and yellow. Red is your power, green is your health, and yellow is your stamina. So taking any of the powders that correspond to those colors will give you an increase in that area. You can take as many of them as you want in any combination, up to 10 total. So you really get to decide if you want to lean more towards power, towards having a lot of health, or a lot of extra stamina, or if you want to keep it even overall. Some of this is decided by what you might run into, but ultimately it is your decision which ones you use to build your stats for each round. Your power moves that get assigned to LB, RB, or their respective buttons come in the form of books. Pick up the book and read it to then be able to assign it to either of those buttons. These come color coded in your normal green, blue, purple. I don't think I've seen a gold though, assuming that they get better as they're higher tier. You also see some moves that have modifiers like poison, and a lot of the moves have a little bit of a descriptor, but we'll talk about that more in the next section. There are also weapons. These come in an insane variety, and a lot of the time, if you see it on the ground, whether it be a mailbox, a road sign, whatever it might be, you can probably pick it up and turn it into a weapon to use against your enemies. One thing I did notice is that if you use weapons to open things like boxes, it doesn't count as a hit, so it won't wear them down. And then lastly, vending machines. You'll see vending machines placed about the world, and they can really contain just about any of these items. There's no actual currency that you need to use them, but I do think they have a limited number of items to dish out.
Just glitch me out? It did.
Moves and fighting. General movement is pretty intuitive if you played any kind of 3D platformer or action game. You got your run button, which uses stamina when you use it, jump button, punch, grapple, block, dodge. Like I said, pretty intuitive if you've played any kind of 3D action game. What you really need to know for Rumbleverse though is the attack priority. This is where the kind of advanced rock paper scissors aspect of the game comes in. This is directly from the billboard in the lobby, but higher priority moves crush lower priority moves. Weapons beat strike attacks, and strike attacks beat vicious attacks. If you and your opponent use the same attack on each other, it results in a clash that'll have you both bumped back from each other. Special moves beat basic moves, and a drop kick or uppercut will beat all of them. The attack priority system goes as follows. At the bottom, you have your basic vicious, then you have the special vicious, you have a basic strike and special strike, and weapon, power move, and super move. So this is something else that wasn't completely clear to me while I was playing. Your basic moves are what you just have from the start. Your normal strikes, your normal grab. Special moves are what you get from books, so they will overpower the basic version of either of those. Using a weapon can cancel out any of those. The power moves, like the text there, are the moves that have cyan colored visual effects. This includes the drop kick, the get up back fist, and the uppercut family of special moves. And your super move is what you get from charging up your super meter and using right trigger plus B or whatever combination you have. Charging up a move does not change its priority on the list. Weapons also have vicious attacks that include weapon priority, which makes them very dangerous. Priority does only happen if the timing is right and both moves are targeting each other. So if maybe you felt like something wasn't lining up or you were losing to less powerful moves, one of those things could have been missed. As you might imagine, the higher you go in the attack priority, the more powerful moves get, and this is added if you are using the strength and power boosters from the red powders. If you pause the game, you're able to be reminded of this hierarchy and of all the perks that you currently have from the damage you've dealt. You can see whatever power moves you have equipped on the bottom, either to the left or right of your health and stamina bars. Those come in a variety of colors as far as their strengths. When you pick up a book, you're able to see what modifiers it might have, whether it's based on a vicious attack, whether it might cause poison damage.
So you can see she's in a purple cloud.
If it will stun your opponent, if it's a launch attack that might kick or punch your opponent into the air. Try to go through a variety of those here and show you some different moves. I didn't find any particular moves to be overpowered or must-haves. There were definitely some that I liked better than others, but I do think you benefit from playing around with the different moves and seeing what fits your playstyle. A lot of the moves really do work about how you'd expect. Slower, more powerful, faster, not as much damage. Nothing really felt overpowered to me the whole time I was playing.
1,000 damage.
While I was playing, I really didn't pay too much attention to the perks. It did take me a while to realize what they were and how to get them. You do get them by doing damage to other players. You can see when you're going to get your next perk, either in the pause screen or down the bottom right above your stats bar. They do seem to be completely randomized, but there are a variety of different ones that maybe give you more power, give you health regeneration, make you faster, make you regain stamina or health quicker, or use less stamina. I think it's a great incentive to get into fights, not sit there and avoid all the other players on the map. And even if you don't necessarily get to KO someone, at least you are still getting rewarded for the damage you're doing throughout the round.
Oh, suplex off the house. The backyard wrestling at its finest. Oh, he threw her deep.
Lastly, we have some advanced strategies, some random tips and tricks, things I wanted to point out. Some of them feel a little obvious, but some of them you would probably learn through playing, but I think we're all better off knowing them going into the game. Any box you see that has items, if you throw it straight down, it's a lot less likely to spew the items everywhere off a ledge, somewhere where you won't be able to be the one that picks them up.
That's why you don't chop them.
Health did not seem that plentiful in the game, so anytime you see a chicken leg or a full chicken, grab it, pocket it, save it for later, because you might not be able to find it when you need it. If you skipped ahead for any reason and didn't hear me explain the stat boosters and the perks from doing damage, be sure to go back and check out the items and moves section of the video. As long as your super meter is filled, if you go to 0 HP, if you get knocked out, you actually should be able to get back up. And I don't believe it's automatic, but you can also go right back into super at the same time, but you do have to still press the button combo. And throwing objects, any object you hold can be thrown.
Hit this guy from here. Oh, I can.
To do damage to other players, and you'd be surprised at how far you can throw them. It's not easy to lock on to other players midair to throw, but if you have some object that you don't need, maybe a stat booster that you're not going to use, or a power move book, you can instead use it as a weapon. And like I said in the moves and fighting section, this is something I learned doing a little research for the video, that weapons do have their own vicious attacks and they could be devastating. I did mention it throughout my gameplay, but block being on right trigger and dodge being block plus left trigger does mean that you're only one button away from dodging an attack if you're already trying to block. Always keep that in mind. This is a pretty standard battle royale technique, but don't be afraid to disengage. Sometimes it's just not worth taking on a fight. If you don't have the special moves, if you don't have the stat boosts yet, take a minute, regroup, and get back in the fray. I found a lot more of the stamina boosters than I did the health, and I really didn't use them that often, but I do think that they are useful to keep on you, especially if you had to disengage from a fight, or you did just get in a fight and you're low on stamina. Maybe you have somebody else coming up, or you're moving towards the final circle. Don't underestimate their usefulness.
So you see those little circle areas on the ground. You can hit those for items. Let's see if I can do it real quick. Some stuff will pop out. Oh, I think you can get chicken from this. Why is enemy footsteps volume not? Should be maxed out. Remember, you only have to tap. You only have to tap B to climb. You don't have to hold it. So I want to run around. I didn't realize how many tips, like actual useful tips there were. If you've played any game that has tips, sometimes they don't feel that useful. You do have to wait until you're about to hit a wall to press B. You can't like press B before you hit. Get into fights, collect star, fill your superstar meter. That's your special. Blocking, hold block before you get hit to stop strike attacks and regenerate stamina faster. Avoiding painful falls, grab a wall, land on a bouncy surface. Some special moves can negate fall damage. Look for the red flash, you can't block them. So that's your vicious attack, your Y attack. Getting hit or blocking costs stamina. Blocking while winded can cause stamina break, leaving you stunned or vulnerable to follow attack. So be careful with your blocks. You can't just sit on block all day like every other fighting game that's ever been made. Plus block, press, interact for superstar moves. Move faster, hit harder. Press basic vicious to attempt a super move. Dodge, block, dash. Basic strike to do the armored back fist. Try other attacks and specials too. So weapons are pretty OP, really, if you think about it. They beat 2/3 of your basic attacks. So there are all your tips and tricks. They're pasted around the lobby. Oh my god, dude. Surrounded by treacherous water, rumblers are too dense to swim. Stay out of the deep water. This ain't Fortnite. So what do we learn? I think this game is a ton of fun. I look forward to the next playtest. They need to do everything they can. If Epic wants to release games like this and, you know, take over for Fall Guys, they need, you know, unless it's just so much money that it couldn't possibly be worth it, which maybe it is. I don't know coding exactly, but they need to fix the issues in these games where things aren't quite lining up and maybe not getting something when it looked like you should have. But they need to fix the coding to support these games, because otherwise, you know, if somebody that's a master at video games is having a hard time, just imagine how the average Joe gamer is gonna feel about it. So I was a little concerned when I didn't see any streamers. I never checked to see if Lyric had #ad on his stream. Let's check that before I say this final piece. Oh, he's not even streaming anymore. So is that game called I hate that I played that game for how long, but is it called Dodge Brawl? Is that what it is? Dodge Brawl. Knockout City, oh my gosh. This feels very reminiscent of Knockout City, where I feel like this game has huge potential. And I guess, you know, they did try to get streamers in on that game. I don't know if it was a longevity thing or maybe that one's too niche. I think Rumbleverse could do better because, I mean, you look at the fighting game community. Street Fighter 6, a lot of talk about that right now. Melee just continues to go. Super Smash Brothers. So I think this mixes that with that, you know, a little bit of that Fortnite magic. And I'm interested to see what comes of it. Probably still end up being a pretty niche game. As big as the fighting community is, it doesn't necessarily bleed into an average game as much. The coding, I think, is my only complaint. I think about it. The customization looks great. It has that Fortnite style. Of course, we're going to reference that because it's Epic, but it has its kind of own style. But it feels Disney, it feels Pixar. I felt like I saw a lot of cowboys that kind of look like me. So, and then there's the skinny guys. But the customization options are there. So I think it's a game that could do well with that. It just needs that support. It needs that extra bit of love, whatever it takes to, because I think it controls great, very intuitive. Besides the thing where I kept trying to throw books instead of read them. That's my fault. Besides that, everything felt really intuitive. But you know, it's something new for everybody, really, because there's nothing like this. This is finally a proper new spin on Battle Royale. The most different one since Fall Guys, I think. I don't even know if it has a Battle Royale released in between. No, because people finally stopped making them. I play tested one. It wasn't good. All like the second tier Battle Royales just start to feel the same. And now that Fortnite has no builds, I think we're pretty covered on Battle Royales, unless you're gonna try to do something like this. Hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope it's helped you learn about the game and feel more sure of yourself when you finally do get into it. If you already played it, let me know if you agree with my thoughts or if you have some of your own down below. If I can, I'll try to have a link so you can just click that to be part of the next playtest. And I'll see you out there in Grapple City. It's coding and Grapple City. Yeah, it's called Grapple City? Grapple City? Probably not. Billboard is my spot. Come find me. Until next playtest. This won't be here. Cheers. I'm ready for a drink. This game is stressful. I played it for like an hour before I started streaming. There was a point where I was like, this might be too frustrating to stream. But I think stream puts me on my best behavior. I haven't used one slur. That's a joke.